Hello everybody, so today we're just going to go over some of the key terms that are related to our new topic of geometry. And we're particularly going to look today at words that relate to lines. So I'm sure you probably already think you know what a line is, and in many ways you really do. But in maths and in geometry in particular, it has a slightly different meaning. So if I drew a picture of a line for you, you might agree that this is what a line looks like. That's true, but what's different about lines in maths and in geometry is that they go on forever. So if you could imagine this line going on forever, well, that would be a line. Sometimes we do have shorter lines that have a beginning and an end, but there's a particular term for them we'll discuss afterwards. So the name of this line here, because it passed through the point A and passed through the point B, we just call this line AB. Now, sometimes they might actually come up with a separate term or a separate name just for the line, and that'll usually be given in the lowercase. So you can see here, we also have labeled this line as L. Now, either of those words, either of those names is fine for this line here. Obviously, if there's different points that it passes through, it would have a different name. So instead of AB, it might pass through the point CD. Now, a line segment is the next type of keyword we'll talk about. This is actually probably what most of us would just recognize as being a line. So a line segment has a beginning and it has an end. So we'll use labels A and B again. So again, it has a beginning at A and it has an end here at B. A segment means a section of something. So if you can imagine the line AB before, well, this is a section of that line. Because there's a beginning and it has an end. Again, if we compare it to a normal line goes on forever in each direction. And the way that we write the name is we put special brackets around each end of its name. So we can write it like this, AB, but then just making sure to put square brackets around each end. Now this square bracket means that there's an endpoint at A, so it ends here. There's also an endpoint at B, so it ends over here. Sometimes you might see that written as BA. That means the same thing because it's the same line segment whether you go from A to B or from B to A. It's still going to be the same line segment. So before we move on again, the key difference here with the line segment is it has two endpoints, one at each end of the line segment. So the third term that we're going to look at today is a ray. A ray is interesting because it's kind of halfway between a line and a line segment. You'll see what I mean now. So if we have a point, we'll call it C, another point we'll call D. A ray has an endpoint at one end, but then continues on at the other end. So this example of a ray here has an endpoint at C because it doesn't continue past C, but it doesn't have an endpoint in the other end. It will keep on going forever, just like the line. So this side here is very similar to a line. This other side is very similar to a line segment because it has that endpoint. So if you want to take a minute to guess how we'd write the name of this ray here, you can try and write it down and you'll see if you get it right. Just pause the video. So again, just like the line and line segment, the way that works is we write down the name CD because it passed through those points, and then we will just put a square bracket at the C end to show that there is an endpoint of the ray at that point C. And we're going to leave D alone because at D actually acts like a line and it keeps on going on forever, but there's only the endpoint at C, so it stops here. Now if we wanted to draw another ray, say for example one that goes the opposite way, we could do that as well. So we could have the point, say F here and E here. So if you want to pause the video now, you can practice naming this ray. Okay, if you're done, then I'll tell you the correct answer. This ray will be labeled EF, and we would have a square bracket on the F to show that the endpoint of the ray is at F. And again, no square bracket on E to show that there is no endpoint of the ray in that direction. It will just keep on going past E. Okay, so another new term that we're going to look at is the point of intersection. Now, intersection just means where two things cross. Like for example, in a road, where two roads meet each other, we could call that an intersection. So if we apply this to lines in geometry, well, we might have two lines. You can call these O and P. Again, we normally use lowercase letters if we're just labeling a line. Now, if you want to pause the video, you can try and figure out where the point of intersection on this line will be. Okay, so the point of intersection should be where those two lines cross and meet each other. So it'll be right here where both of the lines meet. So we can call that point whatever. We might just say it's called B. So we could say that B is the point of intersection of the lines O and P. Okay, so the last term that we're going to talk about today is collinear points. Now, if we look at this term, we might take a second to try and figure out what it means. Pause the video, and when you're ready, just press play again. So, co means together, and linear means related to lines. So something about together lines and then points. So collinear points are just points that are on the same line. So if we drew a line like this, I'll draw one that looks a bit straighter. If we drew a line like this and we had a point A, another point B, and a third point C, we could say those points are collinear because they are on the same line. If we talked about a fourth point, let's call it D over here, D would not be collinear to A, B, and C because it's not located on the same line as A, B, and C. Now, we have one more thing left to learn about relating to the geometry of a line. It's not so much a keyword, but it's a way that we describe the length of a line segment. So if we talk about a line segment, we'll just call it AB because that's what we're calling a lot of our line segments so far. Let's say that this line segment is 15 centimeters long. The way that we write that, or denote it, is we write that AB, now normally with the line segment we put square brackets around it, but we won't use our square brackets. What we'll do is we'll put a straight line at either side of it. Now that just means the distance from A to B. So the distance from A to B is 15 centimeters. That's how that's written. So just if you were to ever see that in a question, AB with two lines on either side of it is equal to 15 centimeters, then that just means the distance from A to B, or the distance of that line segment, is 15 centimeters. So I'm going to give you another example now. We will look at a line segment called CD. So we have two endpoints, C and D. And I'm going to tell you that the length of this line segment is 12 centimeters. So what I want you to practice doing is just writing down in mathematical terms, using the notation I just showed you for AB, that the length of the line segment CD is equal to 12 centimeters. So you can pause the video and then press play again once you're ready. Okay, so again, the way we'd write that out is we'd say CD shows the distance between C and D is equal to 12 centimeters. Again, what's really important is having these lines on either side because that just represents the measure of that line segment. Now some of you may have written it DC is equal to 12 centimeters, and that's also perfectly fine because the length from C to D is the same as the length from D to C. Doesn't matter if you go this way or this way, it's still the same length.